The massive chamber stretched out before Kate Morrison like an arena designed for her execution. Thousands of alien beings filled the circular rows that rose toward the distant ceiling, each delegate representing their species in the Galactic Council. The air hummed with translation devices, turning countless languages into a single understandable stream. Kate stood alone at the center of it all, her dark blue uniform the only spot of Earth's colors in a sea of alien forms. The voting display hung in the air above her, numbers climbing steadily. Each vote was another nail in humanity's coffin. The Vorlons voted first, their crystalline forms glowing red as they chose Exile. The Thaxians followed, their tentacles writhing in what Kate had learned was their version of satisfaction. One by one, species that humanity had traded with, fought alongside, and helped over the past 60 years, all voted the same way. Exile. The word felt heavy in Kate's mind. She had known this was coming. The signs had been there for months. Closed-door meetings that excluded Earth's representatives. Sudden changes in trade agreements. The way other ambassadors avoided her eyes in the corridors. Still, watching it happen in real time made her stomach tight. The final tally appeared. Unanimous. Not a single species had voted in humanity's favor. The Vorlon Prime Minister rose from his seat, his body catching the light like a living diamond. His voice echoed through the chamber, translated instantly into English for Kate's benefit. Ambassador Morrison, the Galactic Council has reached its decision. Humanity is hereby exiled from galactic society. Your species has proven too aggressive, too militaristic, and too unwilling to follow the established order. You have 30 standard days to withdraw all human presence from Council space. Any human found beyond your home system after that period will be considered an act of war. Kate let the silence hang for a moment. She could feel thousands of eyes on her, waiting to see if she would beg or argue or break down. She did none of those things. Instead, she asked a question that she had carefully prepared weeks ago. Prime Minister, I need clarification on the terms. Does this exile apply only to Council space, or to all of claimed galactic territory? The Prime Minister's translator device made a small clicking sound, as if confused by the question. Council space encompasses all civilized star systems, Ambassador. Surely you understand this. Kate nodded slowly. So to be absolutely clear, humanity is forbidden from entering any system that is currently claimed and governed by a Council member species. Is that correct? The regions beyond Council territory that have not been surveyed or settled by any member species. Several delegates shifted in their seats. The Prime Minister's crystalline form flickered slightly. Those regions are wild space, Ambassador. Dangerous and unexplored. No civilized species ventures far into such areas. But they are not forbidden to us under the terms of this exile? The chamber erupted in whispers and alien sounds of discussion. The Prime Minister raised one of his angular limbs for silence. The Council has no authority to govern unclaimed space. However, we strongly advise against such foolishness. Humanity barely survived first contact with our civilizations. Venturing into unknown regions would be suicide for your species. Kate smiled then, just a little. Thank you for the clarification, Prime Minister. On behalf of humanity, I accept the terms of our exile. We will withdraw all colonies, stations, and vessels from Council space within the specified time frame. You have my word. The ease of her acceptance seemed to puzzle many of the delegates. They had expected resistance, protests, appeals for mercy. Instead, Kate Morrison stood tall and calm, as if this was exactly what she had wanted all along. Furthermore, Kate continued, I wish to inform the Council that Earth will be dissolving all treaties, trade agreements, and diplomatic relations with member species effective immediately. Since we are no longer part of galactic society, we see no reason to maintain these connections. The Thaxian ambassador spoke up, his voice gurgling through his translator. You cannot simply abandon existing contracts, Ambassador. There are penalties, legal obligations, which apply to council members, Kate interrupted. We are no longer members. We are exiles, as you have decreed. Exiles follow no council laws. The Prime Minister's form flickered again, brighter this time. Kate recognized it as anger. You will find, Ambassador, that isolation is not as simple as you believe. Your species relies on council technology, council resources, council protection from hostile forces. Without us, humanity will wither. Kate picked up her datapad and documents from the podium before her. Perhaps, or perhaps we'll surprise you. Humanity has a long history of thriving when others count us out. Thank you for your time, honored delegates. This will be our last meeting. She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber. As she reached the doorway, she paused and looked back one final time. Oh, and Prime Minister? The galaxy is much larger than what you've claimed. I suspect we'll find plenty of room to grow in all that wild space you mentioned. We'll be just fine. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. Outside in the corridor, Kate allowed herself a long breath. Her hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline, but her mind was clear. She activated her secure comlink, knowing it would only work for another few hours before the Council cut off her access to their networks. Morrison to command. It's done. The vote was unanimous for Exile. Admiral Jack Hayes's voice came through immediately. Understood. How did they react to your questions? Exactly as we predicted. They confirmed that unclaimed space is outside their authority. We're clear to proceed with the plan. Good. The last transport ships are already moving into position. By the time the 30 days are up, there won't be a single human in Council space. But there will be 3 billion of us, spread across the threshold sectors. Kate walked toward her private ship, nodding at the few remaining human staff members she passed. What about the stations? Are we ready to give them their show? All set. Kepler Station and the other visible outposts will be destroyed as part of the withdrawal. It'll look like we're scorching Earth as we leave. They'll never suspect the real infrastructure is already in place, far beyond their sensors. Kate smiled as she entered her ship. The pilot was already running pre-flight checks. Then let's go home, Admiral. We have an empire to build, and only 30 days to disappear completely. As her ship lifted off from the Council's diplomatic platform, Kate looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between the Council's claimed systems, humanity had been secretly building for 15 years. Colonies, stations, shipyards, all hidden in the wild space that the Council thought was too dangerous to explore. The Council had voted to exile Earth, thinking they were eliminating a problem. What they had actually done was free humanity from every restriction, every regulation, every limitation that had held them back. They had no idea what was coming. Admiral Jack Hayes stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching through the observation window as the final transport ship powered up its engines. The Kepler Station had been humanity's first major outpost in Council space, a symbol of Earth's arrival on the galactic stage. In 20 minutes, it would be nothing but debris and memories. All personnel have evacuated, sir, Commander Lisa Grant reported from her position at the tactical station. The station is empty. Demolition charges are armed and ready on your command. Jack nodded, but didn't give the order yet. He wanted to savor this moment. The Council observers were watching from their ships, positioned at a safe distance to monitor humanity's withdrawal. They thought they were witnessing a defeated species retreating in shame. They had no idea they were watching the greatest magic trick in human history. How many Council ships are monitoring us? Jack asked. 12 observer vessels across all our visible stations. They're maintaining standard surveillance patterns. No signs they suspect anything unusual. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Good. Lisa, bring up the real numbers. The main display shifted, showing a star map that would have terrified the Council if they could see it. While humanity maintained 30 official colonies in Council space, the map showed something very different. Blue markers indicated human presence across 159 systems, spreading out into the unmapped regions beyond Council territory, like a growing web. The threshold sectors, as they had been designated, were humanity's secret. For 20 years, while playing the role of obedient junior members of the Galactic Council, human exploration ships had been pushing into the darkness. They found worlds the Council had never surveyed, resources the alien civilizations never knew existed, and most importantly, vast regions of space that belonged to no one. Status of the threshold colonies, Jack asked. Lisa pulled up another display. 47 colonies are fully self-sufficient and operational. 112 are in various stages of development. Total human population outside Sol system, 2.8 billion and climbing. The colony ships are still running at maximum capacity. Jack felt a surge of pride. 2.8 billion humans living in space the Council didn't even know about. The exodus from Earth had been massive and unprecedented. Entire cities worth of people volunteering to leave their homeworld and build new lives in the unknown. The old national divisions that had plagued humanity for centuries had dissolved in the face of their exile. There was no American space, or Chinese space, or European space anymore. There was only human space. What about the infrastructure? Jack asked. 32 orbital shipyards are operational, 17 more under construction. Mining operations are exceeding projections by 40%. The resource deposits we found in Sector 44 alone are larger than anything the Council has access to, according to our intelligence. The irony was almost funny. The Council had exiled humanity partly because they feared Earth's rapid development and aggressive expansion. But the Council's own regulations had actually been holding humanity back. Research restrictions, weapons limitations, territorial boundaries, all designed to keep younger species under control. Now, free from those chains, human innovation had exploded. Helen Park's face appeared on a secondary screen, her video feed coming from the research station in Sector 71. Admiral, I have the updated report you requested. Our teams have confirmed another major discovery in Sector 88. We're reading massive deposits of rare Earth elements, plus zero-point energy signatures that suggest the potential for technology generations beyond current Council capabilities. Can we extract it? Jack asked. We've already started. The mining platforms will be operational within 3 months. Sir, the Council has been sitting on the edge of these resource-rich regions for centuries and never bothered to look. They became complacent, comfortable with what they already had. Meanwhile, we've been hungry. Jack nodded. Hunger was the right word. Humanity had been confined to one small solar system for most of its existence, then limited to a handful of Council-approved colonies for 60 years. Now, suddenly given access to unlimited space, humans had expanded with a speed and determination that would have shocked the aliens who thought they knew Earth's capabilities. Update on military production, Jack asked, shifting topics. Lisa brought up new data. The shipyards in Sector 62 completed the first of the new heavy cruiser class yesterday. It's like nothing the Council has ever seen. We're not bound by their weapons treaties anymore, so the engineering teams got creative. Heavier armor, more powerful reactors, weapon systems that would have violated at least 6 Council regulations. How many can we produce? Current projections estimate 1 new heavy cruiser every 18 days, with production ramping up as more shipyards come online. The Council thinks humanity has maybe 200 military vessels. We'll have twice that many within a year, all of them superior to anything they've got. Jack walked closer to the observation window, looking out at the stars. The Kepler station hung in space before him, its lights still glowing. In a few minutes those lights would go out forever. But it was necessary. The Council needed to believe that humanity was truly withdrawing, truly accepting their exile with no hidden agenda. Sir, we're approaching the deadline, Lisa said softly. The Council observers are waiting for us to destroy the station. Jack took a deep breath. Send the detonation signal. Let's give them a good show. Lisa's fingers moved across her control panel. Signal sent. Demolition charges activating in 3, 2, 1. The Kepler station exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The structure that had taken 5 years to build, and had housed over 10,000 people, tore apart in seconds. Debris scattered in all directions, glowing pieces tumbling through the void. It looked like complete destruction, the desperate act of a species destroying what they couldn't take with them. The truth was that every critical component, every useful piece of technology, every valuable resource had been quietly stripped from the station over the past 3 months. What the Council was watching explode was essentially an empty shell, a piece of theatrical destruction designed to convince them that humanity was truly leaving. Council observers are transmitting their reports, Lisa said. They're confirming destruction of the station and withdrawal of all human personnel. They seem satisfied. Good, Jack said. Move the fleet to the next position. We have 6 more visible stations to destroy before the 30-day deadline. Each one needs to look just as convincing. As his ship, the Horizon's Edge, turned away from the debris field, Jack pulled up the secure communication channel to Earth. The President's face appeared on the screen, her expression carefully neutral, in case anyone was monitoring. Admiral Hayes, I just received word that the first demolition was successful. Yes, ma'am. The Council believes we're retreating in defeat. They have no idea that we're actually repositioning to locations they can't find. The President nodded. The people of Earth are watching, Admiral. A lot of them are scared. They think we're being driven out, losing everything we built in Council space. They're wrong, ma'am. We're not losing anything. We're trading a handful of restricted colonies for an entire frontier that's ours to develop, however we choose. In 5 years, humanity will control more space than most Council species have claimed in their entire history. I hope you're right, Admiral, because if the Council ever discovers what we're really doing out there, then we'll be ready for them, Jack said firmly. Let me worry about that, ma'am. Your job is to keep Earth safe and keep the colony ships running. My job is to build an empire in the darkness where the Council fears to look. The President signed off, and Jack returned his attention to the star map. Each blue marker represented human lives, human dreams, human determination to thrive despite being cast out. The Council had meant exile as a punishment, but humanity was turning it into the greatest opportunity in their history. In the corner of the display, a new marker appeared. Another colony had just been established in Sector 103, bringing the total to 160 systems. And the expansion was just beginning. Captain Ryan Mitchell walked through the main corridor of New Frontier Station, his boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. The station was enormous, bigger than anything humanity had built before the exile. Through the windows, he could see the construction yards where dozens of ships were being assembled simultaneously. Workers in spacesuits moved like coordinated dancers, welding, connecting, building. This was just one of 47 fully operational stations, scattered across the threshold sectors, and more were being completed every month. Captain, you're going to want to see this, Lieutenant Amy Foster called from the observation deck above. She was pointing at one of the dry docks, where a massive ship was taking shape. The vessel was huge, easily 3 times the size of anything the Council knew humans could build. Ryan climbed the stairs to join her. Is that the new heavy cruiser class? Amy nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. Just completed her first power-up test. The engineering teams are calling her the Liberty class. They've incorporated technology that would have gotten us expelled from the Council even before the exile. Weapons that ignore energy shields. Armor that regenerates. Engines that can jump 3 times farther than any Council ship. 3 times? Ryan raised his eyebrows. Dr. Paul Anderson's team cracked the jump drive modifications 6 months ago. They've been testing it on smaller vessels. But this is the first capital ship with the new system installed. The Council thinks human ships can travel maybe 20 light-years in a single jump. This ship can do 65. Ryan watched as the massive vessel powered up, its hull glowing faintly with energy. The Liberty class represented everything that humanity had been capable of, but held back from developing under Council restrictions. For 60 years, Earth had agreed to weapons treaties, technology limitations, and research boundaries. The Council claimed it was for everyone's safety, to prevent dangerous developments. But really, it had been about control, about keeping younger species dependent and manageable. "How many of these can we build?" Ryan asked. "The shipyards in Sector 62 are completing one every 18 days. Sector 45 is coming online next month, with even larger facilities. By the end of the year, we'll have a fleet that could take on the entire Council Navy and win." The thought was staggering. 2 years ago, humanity had been a minor species, tolerated but not respected, carefully regulated by the Council's rules. Now, in the darkness beyond their sight, humans were building an empire that would dwarf what most Council species had achieved in centuries. "What's the population count now?" Ryan asked as they walked toward the command center. 3.2 billion humans living outside the Sol system. Earth's population is actually dropping, as more people volunteer for the colony program. Everyone wants to be part of this. The old divisions are gone, Captain. People don't identify as American or Chinese or European anymore. They're just human. And they're building something together that's bigger than any one nation ever was. Ryan had seen it himself. In New Frontier Station's cafeteria, engineers from a dozen different Earth nations worked side by side, sharing ideas in a blend of languages that was becoming its own dialect. The Exile had accomplished what centuries of Earth politics never could. It had unified humanity completely. They entered the command center, where holographic displays showed the full scope of human expansion. The map was breathtaking. While the Council's claimed territory clustered near the galactic core, humanity had spread out in a wide arc through the frontier regions. Blue markers indicated colonies. Green showed resource extraction operations. Red marked military installations. The network stretched across hundreds of light years. "We've claimed more space in 2 years than the Council has expanded in the last century," Ryan said quietly. Dr. Paul Anderson was waiting for them, practically bouncing with excitement. He was a small man with wild gray hair, and his team was responsible for many of humanity's recent technological breakthroughs. "Captain Mitchell, perfect timing. I need to show you what we've accomplished with the stealth systems." He pulled up a video feed showing a human scout ship passing close to a Council patrol. The Council vessel was a Vorland cruiser, its crystalline hull glittering in the starlight. According to the sensor data, the two ships passed within 800 kilometers of each other. "Did they detect us?" Ryan asked. "Watch, their sensor logs." He pulled up the Council ship's scanning data. It showed empty space where the human scout should have been. Nothing. We were invisible to them. The stealth technology works even better than we hoped. We can move through Council space without them ever knowing we're there. "Which means intelligence gathering," Amy said, understanding immediately. "Exactly," Paul confirmed. "We've had scout ships monitoring Council activities for months. We know their fleet movements, their resource problems, their political tensions. They think they know everything about us, but really, they know nothing. Meanwhile, we know everything about them." Ryan studied the star map, his mind racing through possibilities. "What about the other Council species? Are any of them pushing into unclaimed space like we are?" Amy shook her head. "No, they're too comfortable with what they have. Most Council species stopped exploring centuries ago. They established their territories and then just maintained them. The idea of pushing into unknown space, risking resources on uncertain ventures, it's not how they think." "But it's exactly how humans think," Ryan said. "Always has been," Paul agreed. "Throughout our history, whenever we've been given a frontier, we've pushed into it. The Council thought they were punishing us with exile. They didn't realize they were giving us the one thing we've always thrived on: unlimited room to grow." A communication alert interrupted them. The face of Admiral Jack Hayes appeared on the main screen. "Captain Mitchell, we have a situation developing in Sector 103. One of our deep space mining operations detected unusual readings. We think it might be ruins from an ancient civilization. Ryan leaned forward. Ruins? The Council said this region was unexplored. It was unexplored by them, Jack said. But that doesn't mean nothing was here before. The survey team is requesting permission to investigate further. Given the potential implications, I wanted your assessment first. You're the closest command officer to that sector. Ryan looked at the coordinates. Ancient alien ruins would mean technology, possibly far more advanced than what the Council possessed. If humanity could study such a find, learn from it, the advantages would be enormous. But it would also be a risk. Unknown technology could be dangerous. Permission granted, Ryan decided. But send a full science team with military escort. If there's something valuable there, we need to secure it before anyone else stumbles across it. Already in motion, Jack confirmed. Ryan, we're on the edge of something big here. 2 years ago we were confined to one solar system, treated like children by the Council. Now we're making discoveries that could change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. After the call ended, Ryan stood looking at the star map for a long time. Each blue marker represented not just a colony or station, but human dreams, human effort, human determination. The Council had exiled Earth, thinking they were getting rid of a troublesome species. Instead, they had freed humanity to become something far more powerful than they ever could have been under Council rule. Amy, what's the latest intelligence on Council internal politics? Ryan asked. She pulled up new data. There's growing unrest among the younger member species. Some of them are starting to ask questions. If humanity can expand so rapidly in unclaimed space, why can't they? Why do they need Council permission to develop new technology? Why should they accept restrictions that benefit the older, more established species? Ryan smiled slowly. So we're not just building an empire. We're giving other species ideas. Dangerous ideas, from the Council's perspective, Amy agreed. The Vorlon Prime Minister has apparently been calling emergency sessions, trying to figure out how to respond to our expansion. But here's the thing. We're not breaking any Council laws. We're exiles, operating in unclaimed space. They have no legal authority over us. And no practical way to stop us without starting a war they're not sure they can win, Ryan finished. Through the windows, the Liberty-class cruiser was completing its power tests, its engines glowing brighter. In the distance, 3 more ships of the same class were in various stages of construction. Humanity was building an armada in secret, developing technology the Council didn't know existed, and claiming territory that expanded every day. The Council had voted to exile Earth. They had thought they were ending the problem of humanity. They had actually just begun it. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. Ambassador Kate Morrison had seen the Council chamber crowded before, but never like this. Every seat was filled. Delegates stood in the aisles, and the translation system struggled to keep up with dozens of species, all trying to speak at once. The source of their panic hung in holographic display above the chamber floor, images of a massive human station in a system that should have been empty. The Vorlon Prime Minister's crystalline form flickered rapidly, showing his agitation. Order! We must have order! His voice boomed through the translation systems. This session was called to address a critical violation of the exile terms. Kate stood at the center of the chamber, exactly where she had stood 3 years and 7 months ago when they had voted to exile humanity. This time, though, she wasn't alone. Behind her were 3 other human representatives, and outside the station, 20 heavy cruisers of the Liberty class waited in formation. The Council could see them on their sensors, and the sight had clearly shaken them. Ambassador Morrison, the Prime Minister began, his voice strained through the translator. A Vorlon exploration vessel discovered a human installation in Sector 103, over 50 light-years beyond the nearest Council outpost. This is a direct violation of your exile. You were ordered to remain in your home system. Kate smiled calmly. Prime Minister, with respect, That's not what we were ordered to do. I have the exact wording of the Exile decree right here. She held up a datapad. We were ordered to withdraw all human presence from Council space within 30 days. We complied fully. Every human colony, station, and vessel was removed from every system under Council jurisdiction. We broke no laws and violated no terms. But you established new colonies in unclaimed space, a Thaxian delegate shouted, his tentacles waving angrily. You have spread across dozens of systems that should have remained neutral territory. Unclaimed space, by definition, belongs to no one, Kate replied. During our Exile hearing, I specifically asked if the restrictions applied to unclaimed territory. The Prime Minister himself confirmed that the Council has no authority to govern wild space. We are merely following the guidelines that were established. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several delegates were shouting, others were consulting with their advisors, and a few simply stared at Kate with what she recognized as fear. Good. Let them be afraid. Commander Ben Clark's voice came through their private comm unit, too quiet for anyone else to hear. Ambassador, our scout network is tracking movement. We've detected 17 different species sending delegations into unclaimed space. They're not exploring, they're specifically looking for our colonies. Kate had expected this. The news of humanity's expansion had spread quickly through Council channels. Other species, especially the younger ones who chafed under Council restrictions, were curious. Some wanted to see what humans had built. Others wanted to understand how they had done it. And a few, she suspected, wanted to do the same thing themselves. The Prime Minister finally restored some order to the chamber. You cannot simply declare entire regions as yours, Ambassador Morrison. There are protocols, registration procedures, territorial claims that must be approved by this council. Which apply to council members, Kate said firmly. We are not members. You exiled us, remember? We are following exactly 0 council regulations because we are not bound by them. We have broken no treaties because we are not party to any treaties. We are exiles, living in unclaimed space, developing as we see fit. A younger species delegate, a Kelvin with green scales, stood up. If humanity can expand freely into unclaimed space, why can't we? What gives the Council the right to restrict our development while allowing exiles to do whatever they want? Kate hid her satisfaction. That was exactly the question she had been hoping someone would ask. You have no right, another delegate shouted. The Council exists to maintain order, to prevent chaos. The Council exists to maintain control, Kate corrected. To keep younger species dependent on older ones, to limit competition, to ensure that the established powers remain in power. We were willing to play that game for 60 years. But you exiled us, and in doing so you freed us from your system. The Prime Minister's form flickered so brightly it was almost painful to look at. You were exiled because you refused to follow the rules, because you were aggressive and militaristic. We were exiled because we asked too many questions and grew too quickly, Kate shot back. Because we developed technology that made you uncomfortable and expanded into territories you wanted to reserve for yourselves. You didn't exile us for being dangerous, Prime Minister. You exiled us for being competition. Lieutenant Amy Foster's voice joined Ben's in Kate's comm. Ambassador, we're picking up transmissions between several Council species. 3 of them are having private discussions about leaving the Council. The younger species are watching this very carefully. Kate had studied the Council's internal politics for years. She knew which species were unhappy with the current system. The Kelvins, who had joined only 50 years ago and were still treated as junior members despite their advanced technology. The Draxians, whose resource requests were constantly denied by the older species. The Meridians, who had been fined repeatedly for unauthorized research. All of them were watching this confrontation and thinking the same thing. If humanity could break free, why couldn't they? This is unacceptable, the Prime Minister declared. We will not allow you to destabilize the galactic order that has maintained peace for thousands of years. Then what will you do? Kate asked simply. Will you attack us? Send your fleets into unclaimed space to force us back to Earth? That would be an act of war against a sovereign species in neutral territory. It would violate your own laws about unprovoked aggression. The chamber fell silent. Kate could see the realization spreading across the faces of the delegates. They had boxed themselves in. By exiling humanity, they had given up any legal authority over Earth's actions. And by defining the threshold sectors as unclaimed space, they had admitted they had no jurisdiction there. Furthermore, Kate continued, any attack on human colonies would be met with full military response. We are not the limited species you exiled 3 years ago. We have built an infrastructure, developed technology, and created a fleet that can defend our interests. You wanted us gone. We're gone. But we're not weak, and we're not going to let you bully us just because you regret your decision. The Kelvin delegate spoke again. Ambassador Morrison, I have a question. If a species were to leave the Council, would they be welcome in the regions humanity has claimed? Kate turned to face him directly. The space we inhabit is vast, delegate. There is room for any species that wants to develop freely, without restrictions or oversight. We believe in cooperation between equals, not subordination to bureaucratic authority. The Prime Minister made a sound that the translator rendered as distressed. You cannot recruit council members to your side. This is unacceptable. I'm not recruiting anyone, Kate said innocently. I'm simply answering a question. If species choose to leave your council and establish themselves in unclaimed space, that's their decision to make. We would certainly be open to peaceful relations with any species that shares our values. Ben's voice in her ear. Ambassador, the Kelvins just transmitted a formal request to meet with human representatives. So did the Draxians. And the Meridians. I think you just started something big. Kate allowed herself a smile. Prime Minister, members of the Council, I believe we're done here. Humanity has withdrawn from Council space as ordered. What we do beyond your borders is our own concern. If you have issues with that, I suggest you take it up with your own legal systems. We've broken no laws. She turned to leave, but the Prime Minister's voice stopped her. You're destroying everything the Council has built, Morrison. The order, the stability, the peace. You're bringing chaos to the galaxy. Kate looked back at him. No, Prime Minister, we're bringing freedom. There's a difference. The Council has maintained peace by controlling everyone, by limiting development, by making sure no one grows strong enough to challenge the status quo. That's not peace. That's oppression dressed up in diplomatic language. And what will you build in its place, he demanded. What kind of galaxy do you envision? One where species develop according to their own abilities, not according to restrictions imposed by others. One where cooperation is chosen, not mandated. One where the young aren't held back to make the old feel comfortable. Kate's voice grew stronger. You voted to exile Earth because you feared what we would become. You were right to fear us. But not because we're aggressive or dangerous. You should fear us because we represent an alternative to your system. And that alternative is already attracting attention. She walked out of the chamber, her team following behind her. As the doors closed, she could hear the chaos resuming inside, delegates arguing, accusations flying, the carefully maintained order of the Council crumbling. Outside, Kate contacted Admiral Jack Hayes. Admiral, how many species have requested meetings so far? 17 and counting, Jack replied. Word is spreading fast. Half the Council's junior members want to know more about what we've built. Some are just curious. Others are seriously considering breaking away. Kate boarded her shuttle, looking out at the stars. 3 years ago, the Council had exiled humanity, thinking they were ending a problem. Instead, they had planted a seed. And that seed was growing into something they couldn't control. Set up the meetings, Kate ordered. Let's show them what freedom looks like. The meeting hall on New Frontier Station was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Representatives from 23 different species sat around a circular table, No one position elevated above the others. There were no ornate seats for senior members, no designated speaking order based on seniority. Everyone was equal here. This was not the Galactic Council, and that was exactly the point. Ambassador Kate Morrison stood at the center of the circle, her hands resting on the table's edge. Thank you all for coming. I know many of you took significant risks to be here today. Some of you are still council members. Others have already broken away. All of you are here because you believe there's a better way forward. The Kelvin delegate, who had introduced himself as Vax, spoke first. His green scales caught the light as he moved. Ambassador Morrison, you've shown us images of what humanity has built in just under 4 years. It's remarkable. But we need to understand how this would work for other species. What are you proposing exactly? Kate activated the holographic display at the center of the table. It showed a star map with human territory marked in blue, and a vast expanse of unclaimed space surrounding it in gray. We're calling it the Free Systems Alliance. The basic principle is simple. No species has authority over another. No restrictions on technology development. No limits on expansion. No bureaucratic oversight of internal affairs. You develop at your own pace, govern yourselves as you see fit, and trade freely with other members. A Draxian representative, a being with 4 arms and rough stone-like skin, leaned forward. And military capabilities. The Council limits weapons research, claiming it's for everyone's safety. Would the Alliance have similar restrictions? No, Kate said firmly. Each species is responsible for its own defense, and determines its own military capabilities. We believe that sovereign peoples have the right to protect themselves as they see fit. The Alliance's purpose is coordination and mutual support, not control. What about disputes between member species? Asked a Meridian, her crystalline voice echoing through the translator. The Council has arbitration procedures, legal frameworks for resolving conflicts. So will the Alliance, Kate replied, but our system will be based on voluntary arbitration, not imposed judgment. If 2 species have a dispute, they can request mediation from neutral parties. But the final decision on how to resolve their issues stays with them. We're not building another council, just with different faces in charge. We're building something fundamentally new. Admiral Jack Hayes entered the chamber, and several of the alien delegates straightened in their seats. They had seen intelligence reports on the human military buildup. The fact that Earth had constructed a fleet capable of challenging the entire council in just 4 years had been a shock to everyone. Don't worry, Jack said with a slight smile. I'm not here to intimidate anyone. Ambassador Morrison asked me to provide some practical information about Alliance defense arrangements. He activated another section of the display. The Alliance will maintain a cooperative defense network. Each member species contributes according to their capabilities. We share intelligence, coordinate responses to external threats, and provide mutual assistance if any member is attacked. But participation is voluntary, and there's no centralized military command. Your forces remain under your control. Vax looked skeptical. The Council would say that such a system is inefficient, that without central coordination, defense becomes chaotic. The Council says that because centralized control benefits the species in charge, Kate countered. Yes, our system requires more trust and communication. But it also means no single species can use the military as a tool for political pressure. We've seen how the Council uses defense requirements to control member species. We're not repeating that mistake. A younger species representative, a Talvian with 6 eyes and soft fur, spoke quietly. My people have been council members for only 30 years. In that time, we've seen our research programs shut down, our expansion limited, and our trade regulated to the point where we're barely growing. The Council says it's for our own good, that we need guidance. But really, it just keeps us dependent on the older species. Several other delegates nodded in agreement. Kate recognized the pattern. It was the same story humanity had experienced. The Council maintained control by keeping younger species weak and dependent, all while claiming it was for their benefit. That's exactly why the Alliance exists. To give species the freedom to succeed or fail based on their own choices, not someone else's restrictions. Dr. Helen Park entered with a group of scientists representing different Alliance projects. If I may, Ambassador, I'd like to show our visitors what's possible when research isn't limited by bureaucratic oversight. She activated a new display showing various technological developments. In 4 years of unrestricted research, we've made advances that took the Council centuries. Faster-than-light drives that are 3 times more efficient. Energy systems that produce twice the output. Medical technology that has extended human lifespans by an average of 15 years. This is what happens when innovation isn't artificially limited. The Draxian representative's rocky features twisted in what might have been a smile. My people have been trying to get approval for advanced energy research for 50 years. The Council keeps denying our requests, saying the technology is too dangerous. Too dangerous for you to have it, Kate corrected. Not too dangerous in general. The Council picks and chooses which species get access to advanced technology, maintaining a hierarchy where the older members always stay ahead. In the Alliance, if you can develop it, you can use it. For the next 3 hours, they discussed the practical details of the Alliance. Trade agreements, resource sharing, diplomatic protocols, and defense cooperation. The Kelvin delegation was particularly interested in the human shipyards, asking detailed questions about construction capacity and technology transfer. The Meridians wanted to know about research cooperation and shared scientific databases. Throughout it all, Kate watched the delegates carefully. She could see the hope in their faces, but also the fear. Breaking away from the Council was a massive decision. It meant giving up the security of the established order, even if that order was oppressive. It meant taking responsibility for their own fate. Finally, Vax stood up. Ambassador Morrison, Admiral Hayes, I need to be direct with you. The Council will not allow this to happen without a fight. They'll use every diplomatic tool they have, and if that fails, they'll consider military options. Are you truly prepared for what might come? Jack answered before Kate could. Delegate Vax, let me show you something. He pulled up tactical data showing the current disposition of human forces. We currently have 472 military vessels operational, with more being completed every week. Our technology is superior to Council standards across the board. Our colonies are self-sufficient and defensible. Our intelligence network has penetrated Council space to the point where we know their fleet movements better than they do. He paused, letting that sink in. The Council is not prepared to fight us. They've grown comfortable with their dominance, and their military capabilities have stagnated. If they try to force the issue, they'll lose, and they know it. That's why they're trying diplomatic pressure instead of direct action. More importantly, Kate added, every species that joins the Alliance makes the Council weaker. They can't fight all of us simultaneously. The more the Alliance grows, the less power they have to stop it. The Talvian delegate stood. My government has authorized me to announce our intention to withdraw from the Galactic Council and apply for membership in the Free Systems Alliance. A ripple of shock went through the room. It was one thing to discuss possibilities. It was another to make the actual commitment. As has mine, Vax said, standing as well. The Kelvin people have voted. We're leaving the Council. One by one, other delegates stood and made similar announcements. By the end of the meeting, 12 species had committed to joining the Alliance, with 11 more promising to bring the proposal to their governments. After the delegates left, Kate stood looking at the star map with Jack. The blue markers, showing human territory, now surrounded gray markers representing potential Alliance members. Together, they covered more space than the Council's core territories. We just changed the galaxy, Jack said quietly. No, Kate replied. The Council changed it when they exiled us. We're just showing everyone else what's possible. 6 months later, the Free Systems Alliance held its first official assembly. 41 species had joined, with more applications arriving every week. The Council had gone from the unquestioned authority of the galaxy to just one power block among several. And they were no longer the largest. Kate Morrison stood before the Alliance Assembly, looking at the gathered representatives. Humans, Kelvins, Draxians, Meridians, and dozens of other species, all working together as equals. The Council wanted to exile Earth to eliminate what they saw as a problem, Kate said. They thought that by pushing us out, they could maintain their control over the galaxy. Instead, they created the seed of an alternative. They showed us what we could become when we weren't bound by their restrictions. And now, we've shown the rest of the galaxy the same thing. Admiral Jack Hayes read the latest intelligence reports from Earth. The Council was fracturing. More species were leaving every month. Their trade networks were collapsing as Alliance commerce offered better terms. Their technological advantage was evaporating as Alliance research leapfrogged their developments. You know what the ironic part is? Jack said to Kate as they reviewed the data. If they had just treated us fairly, if they had let humanity develop naturally instead of trying to control us, we probably would have been happy to stay as loyal council members. We weren't trying to overthrow their system. We just wanted to be free. Kate smiled. They voted to exile Earth thinking they were getting rid of a troublesome species. They were right that we were trouble, but not in the way they thought. We weren't dangerous because we were aggressive. We were dangerous because we refused to accept their limitations. She looked out at the stars, at the vast expanse of space that now belonged to the Alliance. And now we've taught the entire galaxy to refuse those limitations too. The Council had tried to write humanity out of the galaxy's future. Instead, humanity had rewritten the rules entirely. The vote to exile Earth had been approved unanimously.